Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame here in downtown Forest Park. It brings me great pleasure today again to bring in a Hall of Famer that was inducted on October 26th of 2024. It will be the Hall of Famer Mark Madigan. Before we talk to Mark, we are going to be in front of a live audience today. And I always want to thank the board and, of course, our president, Paul Rowan, for taking the time to putting a time aside. It's usually between 1:30 and 2 o'clock here every Saturday when we get the chance to get the Hall of Famer in here or a team that has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So always a great honor. We're in this building where a lot of memories from championship teams to jerseys to bats that were signed, moments, articles, something that I think a lot of people should get involved with to see. As I said before, today our guest is Mark Madigan. Mark, thanks for coming in here today again.
Thanks for doing what you do. You do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, getting into the Hall and the Wall of Fame here is something. So I got to go back with you a little bit here. And it's nice today. We're going to be in front of a live audience. And I think your wife just stepped into the audience. And your wife's first name is?
Barbara, who made it all possible. She allowed me to play my brains out.
Barbara, the patience, yes, of a wife. And of course, Hall of Famer Frank Lentina is in our audience today. Our president, Paul Rowan. And of course, Hall of Famer Mick Balestri is going to be here too. So we will be ready to go here. And I think we're expecting other people. So it's 1971. And a guy named Fogarty is looking for an infielder. And you told him, no, I want to join a dance company. Is that true?
Close. I've never danced in my life. Have I, Barbara? Except when I came home late.
What do you remember that coming back from the war and everything else, right?
Yeah. 71, I came back from Vietnam, and I knew Dan Fogarty before in high school. We goofed around and stuff like that. And I literally was just walking through the park, and Fogarty says, "What are you doing?" I says, "Well, I just got home." He says, "You want to play?" I says, "Yeah, I'd love to play." And he put me at third base, and he played shortstop. And I still see the guy that I replaced. Tim Ziegler was his name. And okay. I'm friends with him now. And we always have fun with the fact that, And that was just a neighborhood team that.
Where was that out of, Mark?
Elmhurst.
Elmhurst, okay.
But
okay. United Retail Workers?
Yeah.
United Retail Workers. Yeah, okay.
But Bobby Hull and Stan Makita would come and watch our game.
Wow. Because they were living in
Elmhurst.
Yes, Elmhurst area, right? I remember.
And they would come and sit on the bleachers with the beer right there on the bench, and they wouldn't say anything, but it was kind of cool that you knew Bobby Hull and Stan Makita.
And at the time when they were coming to watch you guys, they were larger than life in the city.
Yeah, larger than life. You're going back 55 years.
I still have that first impression of them as a young man, 11 years old. When you were just starting out there with that
and going back to Dan Fogarty, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
He was on a Joseph's winning team, and I said this in my speech that he got the game-winning hit to beat the Cats in Wheaton. And I don't remember the particulars, but did they intentionally walk him or the guy ahead of him to get to my friend? But he lined it. I was there. He lined it to left field, and that. You were gone. And that would have been 76, 77, because I think Joseph's won it in one of those 2 years. And then he donated that is his shirt up there about 50 pounds ago.
50 pounds. Okay, I like that one. Right. We'll get it to him. We'll get it to him for Christmas. No,
it came out of the losers bracket. Yep.
You wind up playing in that league, of course, and then you wind up playing with the Pirates in Melrose Park.
Patty Caputo was a couple of years behind me. He got his, I think he'd say he got his start with Pirates. Melrose Park, Bellwood, Maywood, Barbie, remember these cities? Glendale Heights, on Sundays. So we played a lot of softball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams, a lot of softball.
Yeah.
Were you the 6-7 nighter guy a week there for a while?
Yeah. Again,
I'll ask you the question, not him, I guess.
we had children early on, and but yeah, I'd say I was a 4 or 5 night camp. I was 6 or 7. You're right. And tournaments,
Sure.
stuff like that.
And I'm sure Mark, teams are probably always, even other teams are probably always calling on, hey, can you fill in? We're missing a guy, or we need a guy for a tournament or something.
You know what? The great thing about softball that I always appreciated was there is a meritocracy in softball.
Okay.
So it took a while, and then I got noticed, and then I started to get invitations to play, on weekends and stuff like that. But I was not a good hitter, and I turned out to be a pretty good hitter, but I wasn't a good hitter until I played the game for 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And then I kind of, Mark,
you pick up so much
Yeah.
from different people and learning, and wow,
Exactly.
that one person does this or that one guy does that. I can put that into my repertoire of the game. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's interesting for all of us, right?
I was a dead pull hitter,
Okay.
and I hit home runs because I pulled the ball, and once in a while I caught one and it would get into the gap, and I'd get a home run. But Al Check, I remember watching Al Check and maybe you could, yes, okay, that's the kind of hitter I became. Probably not as good as Al Check,
Okay.
but Al Check did a little of this nonsense to the right side, and I got good at that.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking,
Sure.
this might be how I should hit. And I batted up in the lineup, and not that it much mattered, but you want to advance the runners and all of that nonsense, and I got good at it.
Yeah, and again, thank God you did do that, because I'm sure after a while everybody's saying, hey, when you're coming up, Madigan pulls the left.
Well, that wasn't my favorite for a while, but then oppositely, I got a reputation for doing all that stuff on the right side.
Got it.
And I remember one tournament here in Forest Park. Can't tell you the first baseman, but down the line over here, a double, triple. I mean, especially with the balls going like this, it would go into those trees.
Hit the tree, automatic.
Automatic, where you got that's Franklin seen in our audience talking about how that ball would go down that line, for sure.
And I, again, stubbornly, I can't tell you the first baseman's name. It was a tournament. I lined out to the first baseman 4 times.
Right.
Because I got too stubborn, and
you wanted to go that way, right? I got to ask you, but before you come back, what was your first? I mean, I know it was with Fogarty and these teams out here, but what did you play a little ball before you went to the NAM?
Not organized, but I played it. I was a baseball player, like most of us.
Got it.
Grew up sort of, and so baseball was baseball, and I played that through high school. And but we used to get pickup games.
Sure.
And I remember going to see my dad play in the 50s when the bases were 45 foot tall, long.
Okay.
I mean, the infielders literally had to play in the baseline to throw out the batter.
Sure.
45-foot bases, and they were these things that you staked into the ground. But that was in the 50s. And then, I played as a high schooler, but never organized. Not until I got back from the service.
Started at third base, but basically now you become the shortstop, correct?
Yeah.
Now, how's that change been made?
I was a shortstop all my life.
Okay.
And Fogarty, with no ego in this area, Mark, you're better than I am. So he put me at short, and he moved over to short center. And then, maybe you get a little reputation there, and the next team, you're a shortstop. So,
Okay.
I pretty much played short. But as I got older, I did get closer to first base. It was shortstop. And
No.
I played next to Patty Moran. I never had a problem moving over. And I didn't get to first base, but I got to second base.
Yeah.
And so
it's the progression, Mark, as we get older.
I played into the 50s, and
for sure.
I was in my early 50s, I think I made it till. So
talk about the offense and the defense of playing on these teams. You had said you weren't really a good hitter in the beginning. You learned a lot from
Right.
watching other.
Right.
But when you kind of go back now and look at it, do you think you were the better offensive player or the better defensive player? And when you look at the
my
whole
career,
career, when you go back now to look at the full circle,
yeah.
we know. And another thing, you were also known for this head first slide.
I was.
Yeah, I
How
know.
did you know? You know what?
It's in the bio. So I mean, I don't think I was out at your games, but
I'm blaming my sons on this.
yeah, but
bio,
look, we could
but-
talk about this first and slide, but really go back and look at your career overall, and you probably went into thinking, oh man, I'm better defensively than I am offensively. But when you look back at it,
if you look back on it, I'd like to think I was a better hitter, and I was a good hitter, but yeah, I was probably a better defensive player.
okay.
Yeah.
Were you good, let's say, at judging if you were going to play against a Lentina or a Balestri? Were you good at judging what Mick was going to do, what Frankie was going to do when they came up to bat? Okay, this is what they did the last time we saw them. Were you that good student of the game?
I was absolutely a student of the game. And again, as I got older, I wasn't as good at this as I used to be, but I'd know where all 21 outs were in the game.
Right.
I mean, if you get up in the seventh inning, I knew what that guy did the first two times up. So I did. I was a student.
You went into there knowing who was
Kind of,
coming up.
sort of. Yeah.
And it was always, I really think, and Mick, I think will attest to this, Balestri, in the park leagues that I played in, if you had that good pitcher, that knew the game,
That helps.
It just, as much as you think, hey, we're just throwing an underhanded pitch, they really control this game.
Yeah, some better than others. And
Yeah.
again, dropping names here again. Can I do that?
Oh yeah, drop names. Don't
I
talk behind their backs. But
I played against. I played against Tallow more than I played with Tallow, but I seen Tallow turn a double play at second base. He was an exception, maybe the best, right, back in the day.
He was tallow.
and
Tallow.
and he revolutionized.
Yes, the direction.
And pitching.
Yeah,
He was.
And these guys talk about him all the time.
Oh,
Here
sure.
when I'm here. I've heard the stories from Mick and Frank and
Yeah.
Paul and
Yeah.
anybody else who's been here, even Betty Caputo.
I bet you. Yeah.
Another.
He didn't talk a lot, or at least he didn't talk a lot to me.
Right.
But I think he was kind of a quiet guy and stuff like
Sure,
that. Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
sure, without a doubt. Your main team though becomes this Freeloaders, correct?
You know what? 20 years we played together. Pretty much the same 7 or 8, 9 guys, which was, I think it's unheard of now, I think. But we were neighborhood
Yeah,
guys, and we stuck together, and nobody was we had some, Paulie Brzezinski played. Paulie Brzezinski got his start with the Freeloaders as a 17 or 18-year-old. But we were all real good players, and we didn't duck anybody. We'd go out and look for the Bobcats, the Sobies, the Monsters, the whatever. You could name out many teams back in the 70s that were.
And reading into the bio and reading up on this Freeloader team, you guys wanted to see if those other teams were as good and bad in the dance floor, like everybody was saying.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
you wanted to say, okay, let's see what we're made of, because I never believed in any sport you want to play, below the competition.
No.
Because you don't get better.
Right.
You don't get better, and you want to say,
Exactly.
okay, let's take it to that next
Yeah.
level. I skipped over something that I normally do right away. Before you started playing, is there that early mentor that you still think about to this day? Early mentors that you're like, wow, maybe when you were going out to play and you says, well, I want to be like him, when you saw somebody play, or even when you got in with Fogarty, was there that early guy that says, okay, want to play short like him, I want to play the infield like him?
And the defense kind of was taken care of. I kind of knew what, see ball, pick up ball, throw to first base. It was the hitting that I really learned from other people. And I've already mentioned Al Check, but there was another guy, and maybe he's got family still behind, and maybe he'll hear this, but Bobby Kazmarek. I don't think anybody knows him, but he played with Joseph's, and he was that guy that hit the right field all the time. And those are the two guys that I would point to maybe that altered my approach to hitting. Those two guys.
It's improving that
Yeah.
part of that
Yeah.
game. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the pull hitter, sometimes the pull hitter could have been that pull hitter that you couldn't get out as much as you played, you pulled him,
It was almost laughable back in the day. We used to have batting practice. We'd get to there half an hour before game time, and okay, here's, and as a joke maybe, but maybe not as a joke, Fogarty would say, okay, Madigan's up. And then 8 or 9 of them would just line up on the third base line, just making fun of me.
Right.
And maybe he was trying to tell me, Mark, there's the rest of the field over there. Why?
But you were able to get it time, right?
What? Hitting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a little bit of power, and I got lucky and hit one in the gap or something like that. But Jake Jacoby, talking about students of the game, Jacoby would just dump the ball, and he had power, and so
Right.
you had to respect that stuff. And we're playing him one time, and I was shortstop. I said, all right, I'm going to go down the line. I'm just going to dare him.
Sure. Sure.
And he got 3 or 4 hits that day. And again, I was too stubborn to come back into
To
the
come back,
inning, but
exactly.
He's still, no, I'm gonna hit it right in front of you. And he did it.
Yeah, I kid him. Yeah, they found a way. These great players,
Yeah, he
all
was
you
good.
Hall of
He
Famers,
was good.
have found a way. When I come here on Saturdays or I talk to these gentlemen, like say if it was Mick or Frank or Paul, who've been here, and Mark Forgetto, God rest his soul,
Yeah, I knew.
a great player.
Yep, he
These
was.
games, are there games that stand out in your mind? Because it's just amazing. And I love to just even hear something from the past. Is there something that stands out in your mind? A tournament, like maybe when you went to St. Louis, what stands out in your mind? A game maybe that you were behind in the game and you guys came back, or a game where, hey man, we are really crushing this today and you played on all cylinders. Just give me a couple of those situations.
Again, the state tournament was a big deal. We played it at the Splains, I think it was. Okay. But I remember Tallow, and I couldn't tell you what team Tallow was on, but Tallow absolutely had a reputation. We scored about 20 or 25 runs off of him, and they had to take him out.
Wow.
They brought somebody else in. I couldn't tell you what team he was on. I do remember that game. I remember playing in Metros. The first time we went to the Nationals, we won 3 games, 3-2. And that was memorable.
Because that's got to be a defensive battle.
Big time.
Defensive battle all the way.
We could talk about gloves or no gloves.
Right.
And I'm a no glove guy, obviously.
Of course.
But one weekend out of the year, I kind of like the strategy that was infused into the outcome. You maybe you didn't give yourself up with the ground ball to the right side if there was a runner on second base, but you'd hit a fly ball to the gap, and if they caught it, okay, fine. I really enjoyed the strategy of the Metros, because 3-2 could win you a game.
No, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
so I like that part of it.
Right there, bringing that up, and again, thank you for bringing it up that way, because right there, bringing up now, you're in this high level game,
Big
with
time.
some of the greatest teams.
Right.
Did you ever play? How many championships did you play in? You think? I mean, I'm not gonna think
Tournaments and stuff.
Tournaments
like that?
like what do you think off the There's a reason why you're sitting next to me today,
We could talk about that too, but
Paper out of your pocket.
Mixed up,
yeah, I would only be guessing, 20 or 30. I mean,
you remember a lot of championships, correct?
Yeah, but mostly the city stuff. We won the DuPage tournament a couple times.
The Freeloaders played in the USSA.
Yeah, we played in that a couple of years.
Sure.
And that was in Rockford, I think. Rockford? Yeah.
You were named to the all tournament team?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and I forget who knocked us out of the tournament, and this is, I can't remember what I had for dinner, but I do remember there was a ground ball, the game's tied, extra innings, and it took a bad hop. And I was playing short center. I think they moved me over because of my brother was on the team.
Got it.
But it did take a bad hop. I remember it went over my left shoulder, and I to this day I think I should have got up there and made the play, and boom. But
Was it a play that ended the game?
yeah, oh yeah.
But I'm sure, on the other hand, you can remember a game where you made, I had Dosen out here a couple of weeks
Oh yeah,
ago, and
yeah.
he made a great catch in center field, and he, still remembers it. And,
It's amazing what you remember and what you forget too. But yeah.
oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. One tournament stick out in your mind, like say, like a Grant Park, or anything that you
Grant
guys,
Park,
you remember a game where, okay, you guys are down and out, and you guys make the comeback. Maybe you were in the losers bracket and came back.
I do remember, but it was in Bensonville.
Mhm.
It was a double elimination, and we got sent down early, and we won. We played 8 or 9 games, and we won the tournament. And Bensonville back in the 70s was a very good team.
Oh, sure.
They had the Banjos played in the Bensonville, the Chiefs, the Squirrels. But
Ronnie Freeman's team.
yeah.
I thought it was Ronnie at lunch the other day.
He was
Talking about the story.
Yeah, he was a mailman.
Yeah.
I was a mailman also. I think he became a boss, but
He was a big
He was.
yeah, he was. But yeah, lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about, how you wanted to play, let's say, the Bobcats, the Strikers, the Sobies, all those teams.
Yeah.
What I always find interesting even when I would go watch that level when I was younger, did you, like, when you were warming up with your team and now they're warming up, you watch these guys, you're like, holy cow, we got ourselves a night ahead of us.
Well,
tonight.
yeah. We played the Cats, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and you've heard this story a million times from people. And we never beat you, and I would have remembered if we did, but I remember the Forest Park thing, and I remember some other diamond. It was on the south side. It was kind of a new thing. 90
Bridgeview,
was it?
Bridgeview,
I can't remember.
99th off of Harlem.
Windy City
Windy
softball.
City
Yeah.
softball.
Yeah, but yes, and I think you got off at 95th. Okay, but I remember, and we did this always, or back in the day,
Sure.
man, that guy's a right fielder. I hit it to right field, so am I gonna run on that guy? Is he a lefty? How's he gonna get the ball down the line, kind of thing?
Because how he's turning left to right, exactly. Yeah.
And he was a young guy, and I was young too, whatever, in my 20s, or I don't know. Anyways, whoa, I'm not gonna run on this guy. He was a lefty, and he had a great arm. Says, I ain't running
Could
on
pick
him.
up the ball quick, get it in there.
It was Kevin Hickey.
Okay. Okay, you're not running on
But
it.
this-
Three White Sox.
This is the same game.
Yeah, the lefty. Yep. The lefty.
You're not gonna remember this, but we had you down 8-0, 9-0, real early. Maybe the first inning. We got 7 or 8 runs. And again, this was not me. This was not our team. We still knew we had to get about 10 more maybe to have a chance. And you guys just ran in from the outfield like, okay, let's go. And then, you beat us.
Like that confidence
Yeah.
of you, that aura of the
There was
confidence.
no question of the
That's funny you bring up Hickey. Did anybody ever play against Carlos May when he was a softball player?
No.
Okay, well, he played out of a post office league that I played in, and Carlos was in right field. And when I saw Carlos and the weight he had put on, he wasn't the left fielder,
No.
and he was with the White Sox. I go, I told my one friend I'm running on Carlos.
He waved to you like this.
He blew off his thumb.
He blew up the stump. And during around that same time,
Borders.
he came up in 68, 69. Carlos May.
Yeah.
If you would have saw him in the post office league, he wasn't the number 17, and he was with the White Sox.
He proved his career, man. He had
They said thumbs up, Carl.
Yeah. I said, wait, like this.
30 years
Yeah.
playing this game, 30 years. I mean, I got to ask you, you go back and you look at these 30 years, they flew by, of course, right?
Big time.
And, and we're talking like how all of them talk here, all these Hall of Famers and everybody that comes into this, to remember something from 1975, 1980. Sometimes I'll talk to Mick. Frank, even further back than that, he'll talk
Right.
about the old neighborhood, Chicago Avenue. It amazes me that you guys can recollect this, but it all does come back like that bicycle.
Yeah,
It all does
yeah.
come back, you know.
Good memories. It was, good time and
You were known for being really the consummate guy. With your team,
I'd like to think so. I
were
mean,
you involved in a lot of coaching of the teams? Like, as
not verbally. I mean,
you put your opinion in there.
you better start hitting the cutoff, man. Don't come back
Right.
into the dugout.
Right,
Just-
constructive,
yeah.
constructive, right?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
That was I was a shortstop, so I kind of patrolled the infield.
Sure.
And if you didn't hit the cutoff, man, we were going to have a conversation. But all I ever cared about was winning. And
Okay.
everybody says that, and everybody probably means it, and I think they do mean it. But I played with guys that if they went 5 for 4 and we lost, they'd be happy.
Sure.
But my team,
But it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, you
just-
want to,
you had to win.
and of course, in knowing that you could have won, like you said, hitting the cutoff in the little things
Right.
of the game.
Right.
You know, there's a segment that I do here, that we just started, where we kind of reach out to everybody in the audience. Today, we're going to have, Paul, of course, our president, Paul Rowan, Mick Balestri, Hall of Famer, Franklin Teen, Hall of Famer. So we're going to start with Mick, and they're going to ask you a question, Mick, maybe something that you remembered about Mark and a game or something, because,
A question.
Go ahead.
And a comment.
and make sure you speak it up loud, but we're getting,
Question is, did you have somebody charting your games back then?
Meaning where the hits went and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember that at all.
that's a big misnomer in this game. I learned that from Eddie Zola when I was a kid.
I can imagine.
When I was a bat boy for them guy, I was telling you before, when I was a bat boy for the St. Albert team with all the Bobcats on, Eddie showed me how to chart a game when I was a kid. He used to put a dot where he hit the ball, dot in left field, dot at third base, dot at short on the score sheet. And I
Sure,
was
that
wondering
works.
If guys did that back in the day, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna probably say no.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah. But-
That was so key, myself as a pitcher. And directing my team and my defense, as I got out of the neighborhood and started playing in these tournaments and it gets all, you were the Bobcats, you playing against Bobcats, well, I was playing against the Whips then, okay, that was the.
Sure, I remember the whips, absolutely.
So, and I learned all this from Eddie, basically.
Cool.
wow.
Back in the day.
And this was the charting of the
Starting of the game.
got it, Mick,
So I'm
got
just
it.
keeping the book. So then I taught my son at 5 years old. Well, you met, we did.
Yeah, did the interview with
He
your
used to
son?
do that. So I'd be yelling in the dugout, hey, Mick, where'd he go? Dad,
Got it.
left field fly out, double down the third base line. You know, give me a little perception of it in case I forgot what the hell happened.
Right, the Google of the day,
Yeah.
the
And
Google of the
The
day.
other
yeah.
thing was I got a little tie-in with Danny Fogarty.
Oh, do you?
Played against him when he was with the Mad Dogs and the Dollhouse and them teams there. But we played together right here in 1995. I was pitching for the Dollhouse and we won the Forest Park No Glove. Danny,
He knew I was coming.
He was a leadoff man. I
Yeah,
was hoping he was gonna be here.
and it's his birthday today.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark, if you can get it in there, tell him that you know Dan Fogarty and we won Dollhouse and
Yeah.
Forest Park.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just did, Dan.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah.
95.
Okay.
Frank, you got anything for,
Lettuce, 8 to 7, 8 innings.
Heck, cool.
Frank, you got anything for, Mark.
I can say this about the respect for the game. Playing that with the level we played in, every time we played a team, we never embarrassed that team.
Nope.
We never
didn't.
would allow ourselves, even if we were killing them, to make them feel bad because we knew that was respect for the game. And we really said, you know what, these are younger guys or these are guys that are coming. Let them have their fun and let them, they can beat us, God bless, but we
Right.
never disrespected the
Fantastic.
game.
the,
That was all the years
I think that came through, with your team specifically, but the teams that we lost to, there was a brotherhood there or a bond.
Yes.
This is a great game.
Sure.
Let's not denigrate it and let's respect the other team.
And
And
we're trying to teach that to the younger teams today, because the younger guys today aren't doing that.
and you're always bringing that up, Frank, that's the main thing. Before I have Paul say something to you, where were you when you get the call from the board or a Paul Rowan that you're going in the Hall of Fame? Where were you? What went through your mind?
I was with I was at my daughter's house.
Okay.
And again, I was surprised beyond words. And I'll leave it at that. But then my poor daughter had to listen to me for 5 or 10 minutes how I didn't deserve this honor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like, oh, where were you when?
What a feeling that is, though, you know?
Heck, I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's-
I'm old. I'm an old man and all of this stuff, but you never aspired to get into the Hall of Fame. And it didn't even exist when we were younger.
Right.
But it's so, I mean, it's so nice to be recognized. And I have grandchildren and I have children and all of this stuff. And you know what? It's cool. You just kind of pass it on, along to the next generation. And yeah, I was shocked and touched and humbled and yeah, cool.
It's good. I'm gonna let Paul say something here, but when you walked in here today, one thing struck me. You walked in and the first thing you shook Mick Ballestri's hand, you shook Frank's, and then you went over by Paul, our president, Paul Rowan, and you said, Paul, thank you for this. It's a first-class operation. I had to come back here because I wanted to tell you, I had water in my eyes because I mean, I'm sure all these guys here, even myself, when Paul and a few people brought me in here to do this, it's a great feeling and it is a first class thing, but you made
Big
it a
time.
first class thing.
Oh, yeah.
To our president, Paul Rowan, Paul, what would you like to say to Mark?
I mean, I don't remember playing against Mark or his guys much, but, the fact that the great turnout, the people and the stories that they had at the dinner was fantastic. And it's not often I meet somebody who could remember play by play like Mick Balestri.
Yeah.
So I have to give him his kudos for that. This is, I put these two in a room by themselves.
Oh, God.
And nobody else is gonna get a word in.
I think
Mick wants me to do a part 2 interview with him. I'm afraid,
Okay,
He's coming off in 1990.
Yeah.
Paul was giving me a dirty look.
Yeah.
I'll stick.
Listen, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions, then I'm gonna let you go here. Barbara, anything you would like to say to your husband?
Just that I'm glad he got to do what he wanted to do. For
Fantastic.
as long as he got to do it.
And it's always good to have that, the better half, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
55 years.
Did bring up the Rockford tournament with the 4 kids. When he finally went home.
You got one more story in you?
Oh, heck, yeah. But, yeah, it was the Rockford tournament. We came out of the losers bracket because we got sent down early. We had to play 7 or 8 games. It was cold that night. Tell me when I'm wrong here, Barb. We had 4 kids. The youngest one was maybe a year old.
They were there.
And they were all freaking there. And it was a cold night. We huddled into the bowling alley and the game was delayed. And eventually this was Rockford, about an hour and a half from where I live. And Barb, you said, Mark, let's go. We're going to go home. I said, Barb, Mark, we're going. Okay. So we get in the car, pull into the driveway. Now it's 1 or 2 in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning, we get a phone call. Mark, you got to come back. And we played 7 or 8 games that day.
Oh my God.
And I remember we opened up the tournament, beating the team does that make sense?
Yeah.
That might not have made sense.
Yeah, you caught him in losers, right? They got beat.
They got sent down with us,
Yeah, you caught him in your.
probably by
Wow.
Mr. Bubbles.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Good. All right, 2 questions
All
for
right.
you.
All right.
Are you doing this all over again? Would you do it all over again the same way?
My career?
Career, yes.
Oh, I wouldn't change a gosh darn thing. I can't think of one thing I would change. I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the competition equally, friendships and that still exist.
Yes.
And you know what? It's just good for the most part, the people that I've bumped into over the years and played against and
Sure.
played with, just good salt of the earth people, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
You're,
Without a
you're
doubt.
not getting paid to go out there.
No,
You're
it's just
doing something that you
passion
love.
and the love, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And, yeah,
a good bunch of people to be around.
last one. It's in a book by Al Mag. Is this the greatest game on dirt?
Yeah, I would attest to that. Yeah. Great game.
Mark,
All right.
want to thank you, man. This was
Mark,
great.
show me your fingers. Show me
And
your
yeah,
fingers.
let's take a look.
I was
Hold
gonna-
up those hands. Yeah, we all got them. We all got them.
I was gonna brag about that.
Oh, yeah.
I played shortstop and I think I hurt my finger one time.
That's
Wow.
how good he was.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Frank said that I was that good.
God bless.
There you go.
Anything from Frank is golden.
Show your fingers.
Thank you for our live audience today. Thank you to the
Yeah.
board. Thank you to our president, Paul Roy, again, to set aside the time. We have visited with Hall of Famer Mark Madigan this past October here on October 26th. And again, we will see you next Saturday here with another guest. Be here. We will be back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Thanks again.